we prepared 7 funnels that we'll be breaking down for you today to give you a good idea and some actionable steps on how you can start implementing this by yourself. So we're going to talk about the LinkedIn funnel, how you can leverage this to get clients, webinar funnel. We're going to talk about cold email funnel. We're going to talk about gig funnels, strategic partnerships, cold calling, and paid traffic. And then we're going to talk about the collateral, lead magnet, website that you have, your keynote presentation and PDFs, your reviews, your testimonials, and case studies, and how you can design that relatively quickly by yourself to make this entire thing work together. Obviously, there are more funnels here. There's, conferences. There's all sorts of other things you can do, but we only have less than an hour today, so we're just going to focus on the 7 examples. And another important thing to add here, do not choose those channels or funnels blindly. Do it based on your positioning and based on your target audience. So the first step is positioning an offer. We're not going to cover your positioning and offer today, but we covered this in the previous webinar. So I'll be sharing with you a recording if you're interested in that. But this is very important, brief information for you of what is important for you to always go through before you jump into lead gen. You want to identify your ICP, so types of companies you work with, buyer personas, so the buyer's cycle and who is the decision makers in the company, the entire process of multi-threading in sales, what is the problem, solution fit, unique selling points, offer formulation. You want to research that, then you want to create clear marketing message on one page for your marketing team before you jump into lead generation. Just an important note on that. I actually do have a recording of the previous webinar, so if you're interested in this, I will just share this in the chat. So feel free to watch this in your free time if you don't have your positioning strategy dialed in just yet. So let's dive into lead generation. That's the topic for our webinar today. So we're going to talk about funnels and collateral. Let's jump into lead generation funnels, and we're going to start with LinkedIn. Actually, for LinkedIn, we have 2 funnels that we want to share with you. The first funnel is LinkedIn Market Research. And this is a funnel that is especially relevant for anybody who's just trying to figure out their positioning. Especially if you're starting out, if you don't get many clients from outside of your network, what we have seen work really amazing is sending in-mail messages with a message that you can see on the screen here, simply asking for help. And this is not to sell anything to anyone. We've done it ourselves. We've done it with all of our clients. And the amount of responses and how much people are willing to jump on a call with you and help you is really surprising. Now, what's really interesting about this funnel is that oftentimes through that research, as you're talking with them, it actually can lead to finding a client. And we have seen this multiple times. So the idea is not to sell anything, but get a better idea what is that you actually offer. And if you offer IT solutions, typically you are a lot in your head of, hey, I could be offering so many different things, but it's really about validating it and talking to other people and getting their feedback. We were working with IT consulting or IT solutions as far as working with farmers and talking with, AgTech. Those farmers shared with us some things we would never ever think about through our own research, just by being able to talk to them. And some of them even ended up becoming a client. As for the numbers, what's realistic if you send 30 in-mails? By the way, LinkedIn gives you 50 per month if you have Sales Navigator. You can expect around 7 calls for easy buyer personas, meaning people who are open to talk. That's our example when we wanted to talk to farmers in the US. But if you go all the way down to hard buyer personas, like targeting platform manager or, maybe even CTOs, and if you go for harder target markets like the US, it could be 1 call out of 150 in-mails. So it really depends on the target persona you're going for. So this is something we definitely recommend to start with. I want Eryk to jump in and share about the other LinkedIn funnel, which is called LinkedIn Outreach, and share more about this.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Eryk. Let me know if you can hear me well. So I look after lead generation in AceMakers, and I look after three main channels that we use, which is LinkedIn, webinar funnel, and the cold email funnel. I want to break it down a little bit more for you so you can understand how the process looks like and what are the important steps and what you have to focus on. So let's start with the LinkedIn outreach, which is basically our main funnel that we use. We've been able to successfully schedule between 20 to 30 calls monthly from LinkedIn for the last several months. Obviously, 1 month is better, 1 month is worse, but on average, it's always between 20 to 30 calls. How the LinkedIn outreach looks like. Of course, as Matt mentioned, I would start with the market research so we actually know who we have to reach out to and what are we actually selling. It's really helpful, especially in positioning. But after we know this, we have to prepare ourselves for the outreach. So first thing we do, we focus on, of course, editing the profile. The profile is not the most important thing in the outreach, but the more full it looks, it's better. So it's important to have a professional photo, to have a background photo which is branded. It's very important also to verify your profile, so LinkedIn doesn't think it's suspicious and the value of the profile is higher. It's also important to have a proper description, to have a proper slogan, which is the sentence just under your name. One of the tips I can give you is most people always put the title there, like CEO, CTO, whatever. Very important thing is just adding one sentence first, what you actually do, and then adding the title, because what you actually do is actually more interesting for most of the leads. If it's possible to get recommendations, this is another thing which is important. So the more information you add to your profile, it's just better because it looks more professional and more serious. Basically, in the end, you are reaching out to complete strangers, so it's good to make a good first impression, right? After we have the profile, the next thing we have to do is, of course, we have to book Sales Navigator, which is our main tool that we use for the LinkedIn outreach. In Sales Navigator, first, we create a search. The search can be based on industries, on the locations. It can be based on the keywords that you can exclude, include. So you have to play around a little bit with the search. But the next step after having the profile is and booking the Sales Navigator is creating lead lists inside Sales Navigator that you want to contact. After we have those two things ready, we can start the outreach. To start the outreach, obviously we need messages. So the frame we'll go with normally, we send 3 messages. You have it here. It's a connection request message, opener message, and follow-up message. What do we put in those messages? So connection request message, there is a limit of 300 characters. It has to be brief, it has to be short, but also it has to explain what you actually do. So from my experience, it's better to put a sentence about what you do in the connection request message rather than not putting anything. Obviously, if you don't put any message there, more people will accept your connection request, but they are not going to expect that you want something from them. So there can be an opposite effect. When you, in the first message, when you say that, hey, I help this type of companies doing that, at least people can assume that, all right, you want to sell something to them, which in the end is better, because also you filter out the people who are not interested at all. At least in theory, they shouldn't accept your connection request, or at least in theory, they shouldn't be surprised that you keep sending them messages later. After you send the connection request message and they accept your connection request, we send an opener message, which is an offer. Of course, it cannot be too long. It also has to be specific, like as specific as possible for the target audience you are targeting. And if nobody answers your opener message, we send one follow-up 1 week later, 7 days later. You can do the whole process manually. You can use the automation. LinkedIn is not maybe the biggest fan of automations, but normally you shouldn't have problems as long as you don't exceed the number of allowed connection requests, which is it's a discussion, but from our experience and a lot of testing and thousands of connection requests sent, you can definitely send about 100 connection requests weekly, 400 connection requests monthly, and this is a safe limit. If you go above that, it's possible that there can be some issues and you can get an information from LinkedIn that you contacted too many people. Another thing is tracking. So I always say that of course, the outreach messages are important, target audience is important, but I would say tracking is equally important when you contact hundreds or thousands of people, especially from different profiles. If you use multiple profiles, but also even from one profile, it's very easy to lose the leads somewhere in the way. Somebody was interested, but you received so many messages that you just forgot to answer, and then this person is lost. So that's why we always build tracking sheets for the outreach, one tracking sheet per account, then one big tracking sheet which shows all the data for all the accounts, but also we track everything inside Sales Navigator based on the lead lists. So what we can expect from the LinkedIn outreach. You can see here that one account is 400 connection requests monthly, and out of it, realistic result is 4 calls. It might seem it's not like a super big result, 4 calls. Maybe in the past you were able even to book more calls, but the 4 meetings on average that you book are people who know that they are going to the sales call, that at least in the beginning they are like maybe not ready to buy, but they are interested. It's not a call to get to know each other, but it's a sales call and both sides know about it. Of course, it can be more. It depends what you sell as well, and how much is your service, is your product. All right, let's go forward.
So the next, oh, sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
So the next one, thanks, Eryk. And by the way, like Eryk said, Eryk is booking like 30 calls a month himself. So that's crazy, and that's why Eryk is the person that is talking about this. Eryk, you can answer the question in the chat. There is a question about LinkedIn. In the meantime, I'll just go into the webinar funnel. Webinar funnel, it's more similar to what we do right now. And it's extremely interesting, and I think it's very underestimated. Not many people do that. Webinar funnel is essentially building trust in a way like, we have a call today. We're instead of, like offering something or selling, you rather just offer information. The way webinars work is that you obviously need to invite people to the webinar, but the great thing about LinkedIn is once you get to around 1,000 connections, you have enough volume to start inviting people to your webinars. So you can see first degree LinkedIn connections. There is no any limitation. Eryk talked about sending 100 connection requests on LinkedIn to people you don't know, but if they're connected with you, there's virtually no limit. So you can invite 1,000 people before your webinar. You can invite 1,600 people for the webinar, which is example of our average numbers. From that, you create a Luma page, which you yourself used to register. And then what's important is having SMS reminders, because typically people just forget about it. It's not even that they don't like to join. People just forget about it. So that's why it's important to have SMS reminders. The average numbers for webinars are from 1,600 people we invite, we typically get 16 participants, and 4 people contact us later and they are interested in working with us. Today numbers, they seem better, but I'm giving you average numbers. Today we have, looks like more than 30 people here, but yeah, it seems like the title is something that's more interesting, which also helps you validate what people are interested in, because you might have a wacky title that people are just not interested in. So that definitely helps you with your market research. That next funnel is cold email. So Eryk, if you would like to jump in again, since you manage all the cold email campaigns.
Yes, sure. So just one thing about the webinar funnel and the number of the participants today. In the previous slide, you showed the statistic for 1,600 people invited. So today we have more people, maybe because I invited more people. This time I invited more than 2,000, so it would make sense, the statistic. All right, regarding the cold email, that's another funnel that we run. It's, I would say, a little bit more complicated than LinkedIn, and it takes more time to get it going. So first thing, in cold email, there's a lot of work in the beginning before you actually start the outreach. The first step is getting a domain that you're going to use only for cold email. So maybe your main website ends up with .com, .ai, or whatever. You should never use your main email, your main domain for cold emailing. Cold emailing, at least in the EU, is banned, so you can get reported for spamming. When it happens, your main domain can be blocked, so we don't want to risk that, and there's always a risk with cold email. So you always create a separate domain, and in the perfect world, you create actually a couple of a couple of separate domains that you can use at the same time, or you can have as a backup. So the first thing is creating a domain. I always recommend creating a domain in Google Workspace and then creating Gmails. You shouldn't use emails from outside Google or Microsoft for cold emailing. Only these two tools are good for this, and your emails will actually be received by people you want to contact. So after you get the domains, after you create the emails, you of course need a lead list. To build the lead list, we always use Apollo. It's a very big database. It works very similar to Sales Navigator. You always also create a search based on industries, locations, titles, keywords. You can exclude keywords, exclude industries, and so on. After you get a lead list like this, it's not ready yet. You have to download it. You have to pay Apollo, obviously, and then you have to clear the list, because it's not like all the email addresses are valid. Normally, less than 50% of the emails you will get in the first lead list are going to be valid. So the tool we use is called ClearOut.io. You upload the CSV file, you just wait a few minutes depending on the number of the leads, and then you get the lead list which is cleared, and you only have the guaranteed deliverables, as it's called there. After you have it, we need a tool for sending the emails. The tool that we are using is Instantly. Probably a lot of you know about the tool. It's very popular, and I think it's the best tool at the moment for cold emailing. So you have to add the emails to the tool, you have to add the leads, and before you start the outreach, you have to wait at least 3 weeks for the emails to warm up. So it's not too suspicious. If you would just buy a domain, create an email, and the next day send 500 emails, you would get like banned for sure. So it's better to wait at least 3 weeks for the emails to warm up. And what happens in that time? They are added to the pool of Instantly users, and they just exchange emails between each other, and nobody's reporting anyone. So the status of the email address goes up, and it's more credible. After you wait those 3 weeks, of course, we can start the outreach. So here with the strategy, it's a little bit different than LinkedIn, because in the first message you just say it's as you can see here, it's like an opener message, but it's normally longer, more official, because the leads from cold email are colder than the leads on LinkedIn, because everybody gets a lot of emails. You have no idea who is it. On LinkedIn, at least you see the face of the person who contacts you. So the first message is like an introduction message, and then in every follow-up we should add more value. So it shouldn't be just like, hey, I just wanted to follow up on my last message, have you seen it? It should be more like, hey, I wanted to follow up on my last message. I'm also sending you a case study of a company that we worked, and it's similar to yours. And then in the next follow-up, you offer a free audit or a free consultation. Every follow-up is something extra, and that you add some value, because we want to warm up those leads.
Don't say, hey, I'm just checking in if you saw my last message, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it has to be something more, because it's only an email address. You are totally anonymous behind this. So we just have to prove that we are a real person, and we want to actually help, not scam you. And of course, another thing is tracking. The same with LinkedIn. It's equally important to track everything. The conversion rate in cold email, it's a little bit lower, because in LinkedIn we can expect 1%, and on cold email we can expect 0.5%. So we would have to send 200 emails to book one call. But it's not always the goal of cold email. It's not always booking a call. Sometimes it's like a sign up, or sometimes you want somebody to, I don't know, download something from your website, but it's around 200 people connected per one successful lead. All right, we can go forward.
So just some average numbers here from cold email. And then like Eryk said, it's going to massively depend on target audience, your campaigns. But this is what we have seen from 1,000 emails, around 50 replies and 5 meetings. And then what we put here is /followers/attendees. So what I'm talking about here is being more creative and not just necessarily going for sales meetings through cold email. Those people don't know you. And what we have seen working really well is if you have a podcast, if you have some kind of something else going on for you to just warm them up, this works really well as well, instead of just going for a sale without even knowing you before. So I'll go to the next funnel here. We have another one which is surprising, and we didn't really think it's going to work for IT consulting companies at all. But we want to share this with you because if you're starting out, this could be a great opportunity. So this funnel works very well with situations where you have a very short buying window. So for example, we work with one company that has they developed a proprietary tool that helps launching your app on AWS. And there is a very short time window when you actually need that service, because either you're thinking about building an app or you already built it and launched it. So it's a very short window. So what worked well is actually working with gig funnels. So there are platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, and those are freelancing platforms. So by no means anybody here, is probably a freelancer. Maybe you are, but really the point of using them is leveraging them to find clients for your IT consulting company who are looking for a technical solution in that very short time window. That was very surprising to us. So how we went about this when we were designing this funnel is we simply went to those platforms. Like, for example, you can go to Upwork, you can type in your keyword like SAP or AWS, and you can see how many jobs are posted that they're on a daily basis. Then here is an example of our client on the right side. What you do is you keyword optimize your profile. So now that you know that there is enough jobs, you keyword optimize your profile to those keywords that were in the search, so that when people are actually looking to invite to somebody for that job, you are then showing up first. Then what you also do is you start sending proposals. You start sending 20 proposals per day, and you're tracking it. You can do it yourself. You can have a VA helping you with that. You're sending them on a daily basis, and from 20 proposals per day or 400 on a monthly basis, we've seen our clients being able to get 4 meetings. And then the strategy was always not to really be expensive. The strategy was to open the relationship, offer the solution, be probably price competitive, and then turn this client into a bigger account over the time. So that one was definitely very interesting. The next one is strategic partnerships. And this one is oftentimes overlooked by a lot of people that we work with. Examples are partnerships with your clients. For example, we as a consulting company, we have oftentimes clients who just work with other people who have their positioning that's not dialed in, so they recommend other people they work with to us. So here we go. That's one simple funnel for you that you could probably build today. The next one is freelancers. An example of AWS, there are freelance developers who are deploying apps on AWS. You can establish partnership with them if you have such a platform, as an example, and ask them to collaborate with you and bring you those clients, and as they are on those projects. The next one is bigger platforms. So that's example from you, Alex. For example, could be MRI software, bigger platforms, like you can become a partner of Salesforce, Pipedrive, and so on. But especially when they are smaller, because Salesforce is unlikely going to bring clients to you, but smaller platforms will, because there's less people who are actually able to deliver those solutions. And the next one could be subcontracting. So we see this a lot with our SAP consulting clients who are essentially subcontracting. So other bigger SAP consultancies get projects and they have very specific technical expertise, and they plug their expertise to their bigger project. The next one is cold calling. And I want to pull Alex here because Alex actually does cold calling. So he would be the best person to talk about this. And he shared a really cool story with me how he goes about cold calling. And I feel like this is the biggest, I think the hardest funnel for anyone to pull off, because it's just so stressful. But I love how Alex is approaching it. So why don't you share more about this, Alex?
All right, sounds good. So I am like most of you in terms of I'm more of a technical founder. I have come from more of a building background, doing a lot of code and stuff myself. So I am not the person who grew up thinking I would do any kind of sales or marketing. So when I was first pitched the idea of cold calling, I thought it would be terrible. And I went into it thinking it's going to be terrible and started right away trying to sell, tried to come up with sales call scripts and all that kind of stuff. And it was very demoralizing early on because I would just call people, say, hey, do you want to buy my thing? And they would say no. And I was like, okay. And then I would do it again. And after a couple days of doing this, I was like, well, this is stupid. This doesn't work. And so I left it for a few months. And I was like, no, I'm never going to do that again. But I started building a new offer that I wanted to uh, build out for my business. And I thought, okay, well, it'd be really helpful to get some insight from people. So I started calling a lot of my ideal clients again. And then this time, instead of saying, hey, do you want to buy my thing? It says, hey, I'm trying to build this thing and I just want to pick your brain. Can you give me a few minutes of your time telling me what this is like for you? And that lowered a lot of people's guards. They were much more relaxed. It was a lot easier to talk to them. And I noticed that I was having a lot more fun engaging with them because these people love to talk about their issues that they were struggling with, the frustrations that they had, and the current tools that they had that weren't solving those problems. So as I started doing that, I realized, wait, I can actually build um, some great relationships with people this way. Not only does this help me make the product better, but this is a good way to start marketing and selling to people. So when I started having these conversations with people at the end, once they gave me all their feedback, I would say, hey, I'm doing a newsletter saying, showing this is the progress that I'm making on the tool. Would you be interested in signing up with that? Almost every single person that gave me valuable feedback and information and I was able to form a relationship with said, yes, please add me to the newsletter. So that was a great way to kind of start building a warm lead list versus just, complete stranger that you're reaching out to, but keep them on touch points. And then that actually makes sales easier later on because they already know me. And then I can even come back with something highly personal saying, hey, I remember you were talking about this specific issue. Our solution fixes that. And this is how. So doing that radically changed how I looked at cold calling and made it a lot easier, not only for me, but also for the people I interacted with.
This is really cool because most of the people we work with, they try to, if they try to start cold calling, they just get so many rejections that this is just something they don't feel like doing. And it's really hard to get them to start doing it. But if you go with that approach of like you're just researching the market, it seems to be working way better, and you can get one person that's interested on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit similar to cold emailing. People like don't tend to just buy from you because you just contacted them for the first time, but you want to create a first touch point out of this.
Exactly.
Thanks so much, Alex. That was really cool, and I really love how you go about cold calling, that you're actually able to pull this off. I want to talk about the next funnel, which is paid traffic. And I want to pull Mike Lamch here, who is the CEO of AnnexWebServices. So on a daily basis, he runs Google Ads and other paid traffic ads for IT consulting companies as a service. So yeah, Mike, share more about Google Ads and paid traffic funnel. And I just want to have one disclaimer, maybe just before you jump in, because I see a lot of people jump into those very early on. My recommendation from what we have seen is do not run ads if you have not verified your target audience, your positioning, and your funnel and your lead magnets of what is the buyer's journey. So figure it out first with free or semi-free funnels. So LinkedIn, email, all the other things we're talking about. And once you have that service market fit, I use service market fit terminology on purpose, borrowed from product market fit, and you have developed funnel, then just use ads to start amplifying it so you're not wasting money on ads. That's learning we had ourselves and most of our clients. But if you have something that works, it's proven to work, then I think this is a great time to start. But Mike, can you just share more about this? How is it to like run ads? What works? What doesn't work?
For sure, 100%. And actually, I couldn't agree with Matt more on that point. I think it definitely makes a lot more sense to sort of validate your offer and start with cold outreach. Could be email, LinkedIn, or cold calling. And I'm going to touch upon that as well. But just quick introduction. So my name is Mike Lamch from Toronto, Canada. And essentially, I'm the CEO of AnnexWebServices and Annex IT Marketing. And we help grow businesses online with Google Ads, also Meta and LinkedIn. But I'm going to focus most of this presentation on Google Ads. But before I do that, I just wanted to give you sort of an intro into paid traffic. So really what paid traffic is, it refers to website visitors that are driven through advertising platforms, such as Google, Meta, and LinkedIn ads. And unlike organic traffic, like SEO, paid traffic delivers immediate traffic to your website and can scale as far as your budget allows. So a lot of IT consultancies and MSPs struggle with inconsistent leads, and paid traffic, such as Google Ads, fixes this by putting your services in front of decision makers that are actively searching for solutions. So LinkedIn ads can be great for targeting IT decision makers, so CIOs, IT directors, CEOs, and Meta ads can be useful for brand awareness and retargeting IT leads, but it's less intent driven than Google ads. So a key benefit of this is you control who sees your ads, and you can refine your targeting to attract businesses who are in need of IT support, cybersecurity, or cloud solutions. And so I'm just want to dive in a little bit into the difference between paid traffic and outreach. And just kind of like Matt said, it's very important to understand that I do highly recommend using cold outreach first to make sure you can validate your offer prior to using ads. So once you're starting to get results from cold outreach, that's when it can be a good time to start scaling things with paid ads. So cold outreach, LinkedIn email cold calling can be very effective, but sometimes it can be very time consuming and difficult to scale. And many IT firms struggle with low response rates. Cold outreach can often be ignored unless the recipient is already in the market, and Google Ads ensures you're reaching people who are already looking for the services that you provide. So paid traffic is inbound. Clients come to you when they're searching for services online, such as IT services. And really what the best approach is to combine both of these. So paid ads can warm up leads and outreach can nurture them to clients. So one example is, for example, if someone has already seen your ad on Google, LinkedIn, and Facebook, they're more likely to actually recognize your company when you reach out to them, and also and vice versa. If you previously reached out to a lead via outreach, they're more likely to recognize your company if they see your ad later on. So it's very important to have multiple different touch points when you're marketing your services. Also, some leads do ignore cold email or LinkedIn messages, but they still might be interested. So by running retargeting ads, and essentially what this is people might come to your website, but they might not, schedule a call, book a demo, download your lead magnet. But what you can do is you can retarget these people later on with additional ads. And a lot of times people do need to have multiple touch points before they book a call, and this is a great way to do that.
Which, by the way, I'm going to be talking about touch points after that as well, which is as important as the amount of calls you have. Sorry, Mike, go ahead. Just want to add.
No worries. Totally agree with that. And I'll just give just a quick overview in the different types of paid traffic, and then I'm going to dive into sort of an effective Google Ads strategy for IT consulting companies. So there's a couple different types. So one would be Google search ads, and these are the best for high intent leads. And these type of ads appear when someone searches for certain terms, could be managed IT services or cybersecurity provider for small businesses on Google. And these are best for capturing leads that are actively looking for IT solutions and driving phone calls or form submissions on your website. So these type of ads work very well for IT consultancies, such as MSPs, cybersecurity firms, and different IT consultants offering immediate or critical services. Could be like cloud migration, IT security audits. Then we have Google Display and YouTube ads. So these are more for brand awareness as well as retargeting. So display ads show banners on websites that your potential clients visit, and these are great for staying top of mind. YouTube video ads educate potential customers about IT services, compliance solutions, or cybersecurity best practices. And these type of ads can be best used for remarketing. So showing ads to visitors who already checked your website but didn't take any action. Then we have LinkedIn ads. So these can be best for B2B IT services and high-value clients. LinkedIn allows targeting decision makers like IT directors, CEOs, and business owners based on company size, job title, and industry. And these type of ads work well for high-ticket services that are complex. So with LinkedIn ads, they can be a little bit more expensive than Google and Meta ads, but they are very effective for targeting niche targeting within the IT space. And then finally, we have Meta ads. So this is Facebook and Instagram. And these are best for retargeting as well as lead generation. So Facebook and Instagram ads can help build brand awareness and generate leads at a lower cost than LinkedIn. You can target small to medium-sized businesses and decision makers based on interests, behaviors, and job roles. And these are best for IT firms' educational content. So you could have things such as, cybersecurity best practices for small businesses, how to protect remote employees from cyber threats, and these are a good way to promote your lead magnets. These can also be very effective for targeting people who have interacted with your brand previously. So now I just want to get into an effective Google Ads strategy. And so to start with this, I just want to talk about the state of lead generation for IT consultancies. So a lot of firms rely on referrals and cold outreach, such as LinkedIn and cold email. And although outbound is a very effective method, and like we mentioned previously, this is what I recommend starting with to get proof of concept for testing ads. There are some issues that ads can sort of solve. So one common problem could be inconsistent leads, colder leads, longer sales cycles with lower conversion rates, high flake rates on sales calls, and saturation with a low barrier to entry for competitors to enter the market as well. So the solution to this is paid ads, mainly Google Ads. So you might be wondering, why Google Ads work for IT consultancies. So there are people searching for solutions online, so high intent traffic. And one competitive advantage for this is most IT consultants aren't running ads effectively or not running ads at all. And one thing that we've noticed is there's a really big trend in search volume year over year for specific terms that would indicate someone's looking for these IT solutions, but there's not like a huge influx of new advertisers. So this is actually sort of a big opportunity within this industry. Also with ads, they're more scalable and predictable. So you have more control over the lead volume coming in. You can get a lot faster results than, for example, SEO or content marketing, where you can get immediate traffic over to your website. And then also targeting capabilities. So you can target ideal clients based on their search intent. So people that are already actively looking for the services that you're providing. And these type of leads are probably the most warm leads after referrals. So some common mistakes that IT consultants make with Google Ads is they'll run broad and non-converting campaigns. They'll target the wrong type of keywords. They might not know how to target informational versus transactional keywords. They might send traffic to a bad landing page or perhaps a home page that isn't relevant to the exact service they're looking to promote. Also, not tracking conversions properly. Like you want to make sure you know how many calls you're getting for what price and like what your overall return on investment is. Also, wasting money on non-qualified clicks. So a lot of people kind of implement a set and forget it strategy and don't monitor what's working and what's not working. Then they end up wasting a lot of money on what's not working when they could be funneling that budget back into what is actually working. So the proven strategy of Google Ads for MSPs and IT consultants would all start with keyword research. So really finding high intent keywords. So it could be, for example, a managed service provider near me or IT support services. And then also adding negative keywords to avoid wasted ad spend. There might be certain terms that someone could be searching that are irrelevant to your offer, and you want to make sure you're excluding those. The next most important step is setting up ad copy that converts. So you can use dynamic keyword insertion. So ads are relevant to what the potential lead is searching. And essentially what that means is you can actually dynamically insert the keyword that they actually searched on Google into your headlines. So when they actually see your ad, they realize, oh, this is exactly for me because this is what I searched. And that's going to increase your click-through rate and you're going to get more people over to your website. Also, it's very important to highlight the USPs so you can stand out from your competition. You want to make sure you have a very clear call to action that can drive calls and form submissions on your website. You also want to ensure that there's a lot of relevance between your ad, the landing page, and that's going to ensure a higher quality score and a lower cost per click. At the end of the day, Google Ads is an auction, but it's not always the highest bidder that gets the top positioning. One factor is how relevant that search is and how relevant the ad copy and the landing page is to what that person's actually searching. Because at the end of the day, Google wants to give the people using the platform the best possible experience, and they'll reward advertisers by giving them a lower cost per click and better positioning the more relevant everything is to what the person is searching. Next most important thing here is not only the ads that you're running, but the landing page you're directing these ads to. So having an optimized landing page is absolutely crucial for running ads successfully. So using specific landing pages that are related to the exact service being promoted is a very important factor. Must-have elements that you should have on your landing page is a very strong offer, testimonials and social proof, as well as a clear call to action, whether it be like a form you want them to fill out, a lead magnet you want them to download, or potentially you want them to call you. You want to make sure that call to action is very clear on the website and they understand what needs to be done for them to actually reach out to you. Next most important thing is just having persuasive ad copy that highlights the USPs of your offer. And then the next most important thing with the strategy would be retargeting warm leads. So I touched upon this briefly earlier on, but about 80% of leads don't convert on the first visit to your website. So it's very important to retarget people that have been to your website but didn't convert with certain platforms such as the Google Display and YouTube ads. The next most important thing, and this is one of the first sort of crucial steps that need to be taken, is tracking and optimization. So you want to be setting up your conversion tracking properly so you know exactly how much you spend, how many leads you're generating, and what your overall return on ad spend is going to be. The other thing that's going to be very important is to regularly manage and optimize your campaigns to decrease the cost per lead and increase the overall leads and sales coming in.
All right. I will skip forward, Mike, a bit because we only have 10 more minutes, but we had 2 more slides, guys, and it is a lot of information. So what I'm going to share with you is quick course if you're interested in Google Ads. Mike made it like a little videos, so you can go over this and he explains how to set something like this up yourself. So Mike, maybe you can just drop it in the chat. But I'll just move to the next point because we have only 8 more minutes and a few more slides for you to go over. But I think you get an like top level idea and overview on paid traffic funnel now. By the way, we covered so far, I think 7 funnels. It is important that you don't jump into them blindly. I know I said this earlier on. Don't jump blindly into any of the funnels. Think what makes sense for your positioning, where your leads are, where your audience is, and choose the one and start testing the one where they most likely hang out. The next thing is collateral. So funnels is just one thing, but the second thing is collateral. Collateral means all the marketing materials and everything that is happening outside of the funnel, outside of calls with you. So the first element in collateral that you want to develop is lead magnets. So lead magnet is essentially something that makes people interested in learning more about you. So what you want to do is and then by the way, if you want, I'm happy to share those documents with you. We have framework for that. It's a Google sheet, but essentially lead magnet exercise when you try to figure something like this out for yourself is you want to understand what your leads want. What are the problems that they have on the way to get there? How can you help? And what is that piece of material you can create, scalable, that you can share with them? It could be any kind of format. It could be a checklist, a PDF, an ebook. But what is that little problem you can help solving in exchange for that contact information? So that's lead magnet. And you want to pitch that lead magnet using offer formulation framework. We talked about offer formulation more in the positioning webinar, which I shared the link to the YouTube video of, so you can check this out. But this is basically about how you structure any kind of communication. This is essentially about explaining that, hey, this is something how you grab the attention. This is the problem that you see. This is the solution that you see. Those are the objections that they have. This is how we can build trust. And this is the call to action. Feel free to email me. I dropped my email so I can share that with you. But this is the structure for something like that. Then what's important is your website. And here, this is the biggest question from anybody we work with. How do I make my website? And since we work with IT guys and IT companies, nobody asks us technical questions on how to build it, but how to structure it. So that's how you structure it. The same way as you're structuring lead magnet. Attention, problem, solution, attention. Those are the sections you want to have on that website. Then keynote presentations and PDFs. Again, I'm going to send you back to offer formulation framework. If you're ever confused how to structure it, you just follow offer formulation framework. Again, happy to share this towards the end of the call. And then Google reviews. This one is the most surprising to me, why people are not asking clients for reviews. There are hundreds of books written about this that are topping Amazon sales on why people stopped trusting governments and they started trusting enterprises. And then people stopped trusting enterprises and they started trusting their peers and reviews. There's huge amount of psychology behind why. So I don't want to get into that, but it has been researched and proved by multiple organizations like Gartner that one of the key touch points that people have with you is Google reviews. And so when they type your company name, you better show up with good reviews. And people massively underestimate it. If you send a cold email and they are open to consider talking to you, you better show up on Google with some reviews. So how you do that, you add this as a process, and you always ask clients that you work with for those reviews. And you make it simple. You add direct links, and here's a bonus for you. You can add a referral funnel. So you can simply tell your clients that, hey, thanks for collaboration. Obviously, over-deliver before you ask for something like that, over-deliver your service, but then ask for a review and offer to become a partner in the sense of just offer some kickback for recommending other clients. So that way you have a review and you also have you also have a partnership funnels. And testimonials and case studies. Similar, I mean, if you see our website and our clients, we really pressure on getting those case studies. It's really hard to get it because it almost feels like you're asking people to do it. They're just kind of not doing it. So it feels like a bit of like harassment. Obviously, I'm joking, but it's like you're asking them. So the best way to do that is you simply ask on a live meeting after you over deliver, and you can follow the same structure, which is very straightforward. That's industry that your clients are in, the problem that they have, approach you use to help them, results, and get a designer to make it look like it's branded within your company colors. Now, how do you get to 20 to 30 calls per month? Just putting this all together. Here's an example math. From InMails, we are getting 5 meetings. From LinkedIn Outreach, we are getting 4 meetings, but that's per one account. We have multiple accounts, so you can get 12 meetings. From webinars, you can get 4 meetings. That's already 21. So the math is mathing on the right side here. Then from cold email, you can get another 5, it's 26. From gig funnel, you can get another 4, that's 30, plus you get 2 referrals. Now you have 32 meetings. So that's essentially how you get there, essentially when you're starting out and testing those funnels. You're essentially just mathing it. And then you're drawing this as a simple go-to-market kind of buying journey. And you can use Draw.io to draw something like that. And it's important that you make this whole system work together. So what this means is that you want to understand how, for example, first-degree LinkedIn connections interact with InMails if you're building something like this for yourself, because example is that you would not get accepted messages from everybody, but you can use InMails, and InMails are always getting into their inbox. Also, what you want to draw is, for example, if you're sending cold email, you might be sending people to your content and then to webinar and then to a call. So that's important that you map something like that and that you understand use cases behind it as you're mapping something like that. So what are the use case examples now that you're thinking, all right, that you guys cover like 7 different funnels, which one makes sense for me? So the answer is it depends. And it typically takes a lot of conversation, figuring out your positioning, but I'll give you some use cases here. By the way, Alex, there's one question about cold calling in the chat. If you would like to take a look at that, maybe you can answer that. But I'll just jump into some use cases here. And by the way, I know we are almost on top of the hour, so I don't know your schedule, guys. I'll stay over for another couple of minutes to finalize this, but here's the calendar link. If you have to jump off and you would like to talk to us to help you building that strategy for your company, to help you figure out what works the best for you. So you have to jump off. Here's the link to Elena's calendar. So feel free to book a call with Elena and me to talk about this. But here are the use cases. So for LinkedIn funnel, it's good to use it as you're using like InMail for market positioning and outreach after the initial research, and especially for unaccepted requests. For webinar funnel, it's great to use it once you have 1,000+ LinkedIn connections. For cold email funnel, it's good to use it if you've developed content marketing funnel already and you're expanding outreach with broader target audience. For gig funnel, it's very good if your clients have if there's a very short buying window. For strategic partnerships, it's great when you already build strong relationships with complementary suppliers, meaning you guys are not competitive and you already have their trust and you have a client base. For cold calling, it's great if your target audience is smaller companies. You might not get to the CTO of Microsoft by cold calling, most likely. For paid traffic, it's great if you validated your positioning, audience, offer, and lead magnet through your free funnels, which answers one of the questions here in the chat. So I want to address one super important thing that people always tell us, which is my network is more likely to buy from me. And so I want to say we do not disagree. We've seen this hundreds of times. If you have people in your network, they will always buy from you, and that's more likely. So we don't disagree. What we say based on all these funnels and numbers is that you should make your network bigger. And we want to accelerate this process. But what is network, quote, quote, in the context of your pipeline? The way we see that is network versus network is essentially warm versus cold relationships. So people you have a strong relationship with and people you have very weak relationship with, like sending a cold email. So that's why leads must be warmed up. And meetings booked is not the only metric that matters. Each touch point matters. According to Gartner, 80% of B2B buying decisions is happening outside of meetings. 80% of B2B buyers prefer to make the decision outside of the meetings. And if leads are not repeatedly exposed to you, they are unlikely to consider you. That's why we're talking about touch points. And that's why we're talking about the collateral that you need to add in between of those calls. Here's data from Hockey Stack, which is Y Combinator-backed company that does a lot of research like that on LinkedIn. But what it comes down to looking at their data, which is very aligned with our data, we don't have 1.5 million contacts we research. We have 250, 300, but it's similar data we see. Based on the data, the most common touch points are your website, your LinkedIn, and Google. And the bigger average client value, the more touch points you need. And that most companies underestimate the magnitude of touch points needed to convert. But you can easily do it digitally through the things that we're showing you here. On the right side, you can see how many first impressions you might need to convert from first impression to marketing qualified lead, from marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead, and to close. So you see it's a lot of impressions, probably way more than you thought. So this is how we see this. When people tell us, hey, my network is more likely to buy. It's like, yeah, that's true. But what we want is we want to get more of the piece of the pie, more of the total addressable market network. So we want you to make this your network, essentially just accelerate the growth by those funnels. So this is example buyer's journey from Gartner. You can see it's pretty much similar to the one we were drawing for you a few slides before. It's just more complicated, but you see how many different touch points and collateral is important here. So just a final point I want to make here. The goal is to get more clients outside of your network, but the reality is that cold leads are less likely to buy. You could rely on your network or keep bombarding people with messages, but the way we see, and the key is to expand what you consider your network by accelerating it, by sending those messages, by building those funnels, and by creating more touch points. Meetings aren't just the only metric that matters. Every touch point counts. And when people say to us, hey, I tried X and it didn't work, like I tried cold email and it didn't work, probably the funnel wasn't properly implemented with enough touch points, and most importantly, with the right strategy for the right audience, for the right positioning. So choose funnels based on your positioning and buying journey that makes sense. So with that being said, I think that was my last slide. Here's the information page. If you want to contact us, feel free to book a call with us. You would be talking with Elena and with me if you like help with your strategy. Then we can look into your company and recommend you which strategy might make most sense for you. We can see if we can help you with your strategy. We work as a consulting company and we have weekly one-on-one calls directly with the founders of IT consulting companies. So feel free to book a call with us.